There are so many note-taking techniques out there for law students, but I am not here to tell you which one is the best or which one you should try out, because out of all these techniques, I don't even know if I am using any of them properly. But I will simply show you how I take my notes in the simplest way possible. Nothing complicated. It's just something that works for me. So ensure that you watch this video to the end, because I would like to know if it is something that you would also like to try too. So without already being said, let's get right into this video. So guys, we are going to be starting this with my criminal law notebook. This is my criminal law notebook, and this is my criminal law textbook. Right, good. So it's the beginning of a new semester, so I got myself a new notebook and we're starting. The name 300 level and Hanguk in Yoja. Exactly, I'm learning Korean. Now the first topic we did, which was quite surprising, was strict liability offenses. Strict liability offenses. So this is my own formed note from the lecturer's PDF. Okay, so you have the topic, the subtopics, everything written right here. This was just something that I wrote down because I wasn't in class when this topic was taught, so I really found it a little bit difficult to understand these two concepts, so I had to write them down first before coming into the notes. So I started the definition right here. A strict liability offense is a crime where only the, now let me pronounce that word for you guys please, I struggle with the pronunciation. So this is the modern approach to it. This was exactly what it gave the case of Sweet and Parsley, and I was the one that just found out the summary of the case, and this is how I put my cases right there. I like the facts, the legal issue, the judgment. And another one, Pharmaceutical Society of Great Britain and Stockwin Limited, 1986. I also highlight the fact and how the court determines when an offense is. I wrote this note according to the PDF material is sent to the group, and then more cases I wrote them here because I needed enough space for it. So like this. Now this was the one we did this week, right? Corporate criminal liability. I wrote down all the important aspects of it, the vicarious liability. Now my cases are highlighted in red. I use red pen to write my cases. That is how we're supposed to use it. So any case or any cases that are kind of like highlighted by the lecturer under each subtopic is what I find out. Okay, I find these cases out and then I write them under the subtopic. So I know that any cases relating to this vicarious liability is going to be right here. So National Rivers Authority and Alfred is there, and then you have Seaford is Seaford Offshore Limited and Secretary of State for Transport. So he gave these cases that we should go ahead and read them. So I found all the ratio descendantly, the dictum, the judgment, the issues, all those things. And then you have the direct liability and identification doctrine, or identification doctrine, I mean. So he gave cases. I was the one that he only explained the aspect of direct liability, but he gave cases. So Tesco supermarkets, I went ahead and looked for the summary. I just couldn't find like a full aspect of it. Mandela's, Carberries, Odessa, and FRN. So this is the way I highlight my notes majorly. This is the way I highlight it. So I am here to complete forming my notes on this because I just got to realize that he has sent a material on it. So I'm going to be using that material to complete my notes. So basically this is just how I take my notes. Even for my 200 level courses, this is a book I use in my 200 level. I form my notes just like that. You can see notes, highlight, and then if there is any aspect for me to talk about my cases, I will talk about my cases in full. The reason why I do this is majorly because sometimes I don't go around with my textbook. My textbooks are very heavy and they're very plenty, so I don't take them along with me to school. I drop them at home. So if I'm going to be dropping them at home, that means I need to go with my notes that are complete. So if I just have only jottings in my note, it's not going to pay me. I'm not going to be satisfied because jottings are not full notes, right? So when my notebook is almost looking like
the twin sister of my textbook, I feel so happy because it kind of encourages me to want to read more. So I can read without my textbook there being next to me, right? So yeah, that's how I do it for all my notes, and I'm glad it's work well. It works well for me. Exactly. When it comes to the do's and don'ts of my note taking, the first thing is that I take my notes solely based on what it is that the lecturer provides in class. This is because when I was in second year, the second semester of my second year, I prepared for a course ahead of the lecturer during the holiday, and the course was customary law course, and the topic was judicial review of customary law. So there was this PDF material that I was using that had these topics, the course outlines right there. So when the class rep sent the course outlines to the group, and I saw that these course outlines were exactly what was inside the PDF, I decided to read ahead. I decided to form my notes ahead. I wrote the cases and everything. I think I used about 2 pages of my book for this topic. So when we resumed to school and it was time for the lecturer to take that topic, everything that she taught was so different from what it was that I wrote from the PDF, ranging from the topic, the cases, the statutes, everything. Like, and the lecturer's notes took me about, I think, 2 days to write because of how busy I was, but it was about 5 pages long. It was about 5 pages long. And then I was thinking, what about the notes that I formed? How am I going to do that? There's nothing even related. There was no similarities between these two notes. Different cases, different topics, different everything. So I had to cancel the note that I had formed and go for the lecturer's notes. So since then, I took it upon myself that if I'm ever going to prepare my notes, I would only prepare my notes based on what materials the lecturer sends to the class, or the jottings that I take from the class, because not every lecturer has the tendency to send materials or send their notes. Some of them are using textbooks, and some of them have been teaching these courses for as long as I can remember, maybe years and years and years and years. Many of them have been teaching the course for about 10 years, so they don't even need textbook, they don't even need topic. Is the same thing that they have been repeating for other classes, other seniors that they're going to be doing for us. So the best thing I do is that I put down jottings, my notes, everything, and then when I get home, I form my notes. So if there's any need for me to read ahead of my lecturer, I have my textbooks with me. So I light my textbook, note down some points. If there are any definitions that I need to know beforehand, because there is code calling in class. Any of the lecturers can just point to you and tell you, oh, tell me what is this, tell me the street application of blah 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 blah. So just so that I don't get embarrassed in class, I can memorize some of the things I'm supposed to memorize just to have an idea. But I will not form my notes before class. That is just not logical. I form my notes after class. So now when it comes to jotting down points, I think it is this jotting that maybe the Cornell method of note taking might work. But for me, I feel like the Cornell method of note taking is just kind of like a prison yard for me. I love to explore, and knowing how rough my work can be doing jotting, I don't try to put any limitations on it. So when it comes to jottings in class, I do record the voices of my lecturers. Whenever they are teaching, I have my sound recorder on, so that once I'm done with the class and I need to go back to the topic, or I don't understand something, I can replay the recordings from the class. So I just jot down points, just point, and since some of them are using textbook, if I have the textbook with me, I just look at the pages of the textbook, look at what it is that they talked about, highlight it. And the courses I'm doing, they are very broad courses, right? We have commercial law. Commercial law is like the broadest course in my 300 level right now. It's almost like contract law when I was in 200 level. So right now, commercial law, I can't really form my notes based on my own perception. It is what it is that the lecturer talks about in class exactly that I have to form my notes based on it, so that I don't just read and overread or read things that are just not important, right? So that is how I go about it. Now, in conclusion, I want you to know that there is no limitation to how exactly your note is supposed to be, right? You can explore. I don't even know any other note-taking techniques other than Cornell method of note-taking and stuff. But if there are other note-taking techniques that's out there, I can try them. But I think I'm good with this one that I'm using, because it makes my notes look more neat, more usable. Because I even have some of my classmates who borrow my notes and take pictures of the notes because they need it, because of how the way I write them in a very clear way. So if you're wondering how exactly you're going to take your notes, you can go for this particular method of mine. So with that, I think we've come to the end of this video. That's how exactly I take my notes. I've been doing that since secondary school, and I am still doing that in my third year, and I'm going to continue doing that till I'm done with the university and law school. If you're yet to subscribe to this video, please ensure that you do subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next videos. Bye bye.